humans hate making decisions.
We're doing just fine.
If you're going to be successful, if you're going to become a better man,
you got to take care of yourself.
You know, that thing called life calls, and you've got to do something about it.
A bottle of wine again.
There are times when you just think, fuck it, I just want to quit. Got to learn to do the exact opposite.
Starting today.
What is conversion rate optimization? It's kind of an obsession with testing.
Start small, think big.
So that's it. Thank you and good night. This has been Take Traction. You're welcome. Have I got to speak? Hello, boys and girls, and welcome back to another episode of the Take Traction Show. We're back, and we've got a new intro, so let us know what you think in the comments. We really like it. It's a bit of a change from what we had before, but it certainly is more in line with what we kind of, I guess, more our style. So let us know what you think in the comments over on the blog. Head over to taketraction.com and let us know. Today we've got a really cool show for you guys. Today we are discussing different e-commerce models, and it's going to be a really big decision that you're going to have to make if you're starting a new store, or even if it might be a decision you have to make for an existing store. And the decision is between setting up a dropshipping company, wholesaling and warehousing, or white labeling and manufacturing. And it's a really big decision because all three are really kind of valid options that you can go for and you can make a lot of money with. And we've got some pretty interesting insights on how you can use each of these models. Different models have had different levels of success or provided different potential of success over the years at different periods of time. And today we're going to be discussing what is right for you right now, what you should be going with, and how you can utilize all of these models together to really give you an incredibly powerful business. So thanks for tuning in as always. Hope you enjoy the show. So, we're live.
We are.
How you doing, Christian?
Oh, good. Right? What about you, Charlie?
I'm good. If I'm brutally honest with you, I'm feeling a little bit worse for wear today. I went to a Jamiroquai concert last night, and
really?
It wasn't a late night. It was just you can never get a taxi when you come out of the concert, and then we got home maybe like 12:31. And then maybe about 12:30, and just didn't get to sleep until about 2. And then I don't know what it is. It seems when I drink beer, for some reason I wake up very early and can't get back to sleep. So I didn't get to sleep until 2, and then I woke up at like 7:30.
Only beer does that, or alcohol in general?
I think it's probably alcohol in general, let's be honest, yeah. Yeah, so apart from that, I'm good. I'm juicing. I'm having some healthy green smoothie this morning, which, as Christian and I were just saying before the podcast, I've managed to spill everywhere this morning already. And just before we started the podcast, I managed to spill a whole cup of coffee, nearly all over my computer. That was a lucky one, actually. Last year, I did manage to spill an entire, what's it called? Benti? Or what's it called? The large, Starbucks coffee? Benti or Tall or whatever it's called. Benti, I'm pretty sure it's called. All over my laptop, literally straight over my laptop, like directly onto the keys. So I'm pretty lucky that didn't happen today, because I ended up investing in a 15-inch MacBook Pro, and
which
I would have not been happy.
Isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Could have bought myself a new car for that. So I'm glad that didn't happen just now. So apart from that, I'm doing good.
All right.
I'm in Mexico right now. I was about to say to you before we started the podcast, if you hear any strange noises in the background, don't worry. It's just the fact that I'm in Mexico, and there's a load of weird shit that happens on the street in Mexico. There are just weird noises all day, and they're noises that you know. So there are people that go around trying to sell like basically baked sweet potatoes, and this thing, when it gets really hot, it makes this massive whistle noise, and you can hear it on the street. It's super loud. And then there are these people that go around trying to collect your junk. And they've got like this big speaker, and it's just this recording of a woman like shouting all the stuff that they collect from you. There's this other guy. There are people that sell gas, and they go around going, gas! And they just shout at the top of their lungs, gas. And it's hilarious. They don't even say gas, they say gas.
Gas.
Which is kind of funny. Gas. So yeah, I'm just lighting a candle for mood here. So if you do hear any noises throughout this podcast, then please don't be alarmed. I'm not being attacked. It is just Mexico.
And you're not selling gas.
I'm not selling gas. No, certainly not. But there are people on the street here. That's the only problem with my setup in Mexico is that I'm pretty much exposed to the street. So it's kind of difficult to block out background noise. But we will see how we get on. It should be okay.
Let's see.
So let's jump into today's topic. Today we're talking about different e-commerce models, different e-commerce business models. So where to begin? First of all, I kind of want to begin with defining what an e-commerce model is, because if you search online for e-commerce models, you'll see a lot of stuff about B2B, B2C, C2C, and B2B, which for people who don't know is business to business, business to consumer, and so on. And that's kind of the basic, that's the first step of deciding what you're going to do with an e-commerce model. But to me, it stands out the most important things to decide, and I think this will be most relevant to anyone listening to this podcast, is to choose between, number one, drop shipping, number two, wholesaling and warehousing. So buying other people's products and selling other brands' products. So that could be, you might have, like I used to have a paleo store, for example, and we didn't have our own products. We bought other products and we sold, from other brands, and we sold their products. And the final option is white labeling and manufacturing. So buying products either from manufacturers and putting your logo on it. Maybe you might make some slight changes. That's a lot of the stuff that people are doing with Amazon. If you've heard about people buying from China and selling on Amazon, a lot of that is white labeling. And then manufacturing, which is essentially creating your own product from scratch.
Do
you think there's anything else?
I think between the two of us, we've been through all these models.
Pretty much all of them. I think the one that we're kind of least familiar with is manufacturing. I know, so you've done white labeling / manufacturing, right? With these diet pills years ago?
Yeah, it was a bit dodgy. But, it was kind of, manufacturing. You would, go with a recipe of a product, of a weight loss product, and the factory would just create the formula, and, you would white label the product, and that was it. But you were not actually manufacturing anything. You were just mixing some products.
It's kind of halfway between white labeling and manufacturing, right?
Indeed.
Because you're not exactly, you're just sending over a recipe. Yeah. It's kind of, it's not quite white labeling, but it's not quite manufacturing, I'd say.
It's in between.
And then we've both done drop shipping, right?
Yep.
I had a store years ago that I set up. It was one of my first adventures with Magento, setting up a store to drop ship, what are they called? Remote control cars. But they were like, these competition level remote control cars that use like petrol, like gasoline. So that was an interesting experience. Your drop shipping experiences, if you want to share them?
I only had one. I've tried, selling baby products at some point. But it was a mess. I mean, the competition is so big. And there are so many products out there, and it's
a massive industry, isn't it?
Yeah.
I swear the baby industry and the pet industry. Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a failure because, the biggest problem was the volume of the product. For example, if you would want to sell a baby crib, for example, that weighs 40 kilograms. Yeah. And we didn't know that, but we ended up, spending almost the entire value of the product only on shipping, and we were offering free shipping for a certain amount of products or value. So we ended up in failure.
Yeah, it can get pretty complicated. I swear the baby industry, the baby market and the pet market are the two most competitive industries, at least from what I've seen, from what I've researched and kind of stories I've heard. Incredibly profitable if you can take a large share of the market.
Because you can, but you need a big investment. You got to invest a lot of money and money that we didn't have at that point. Yeah. So that was the main reason for the failure.
Yeah. So now we did, just to quickly, touch on this, we did a podcast a few weeks ago on drop shipping versus, I can't think what we called it, drop shipping versus, inventory or stocking your own supplies or whatever.
Yeah.
Or warehouse management, whatever you want to call it. So it's a kind of similar topic. So if you, if that's really interesting to you, if you're looking at, wholesaling, then those are your two choices. So it might be good to go back and listen to that podcast. Today's going to be a bit more of an overall look at all these different types of models that you can do. Because if you're just starting out, let's say you've got a bit of money saved up, or you're looking to do a bit of a side hustle at the moment. You're looking to start a new business in e-commerce. You've got these different options, and when you look online, there's going to be so much information about which one's best, and people are going to have their opinions. So we're going to give you ours, I suppose. But hopefully with a little bit of experience that can help you, weigh up the differences as well. And I don't think we've got much bias here because we have tried different things, and every one has got its place as well. Each one does have its benefits and each one does have its negatives. So again, we've got drop shipping, we've got wholesaling and warehousing. That's one. Let's just call it wholesaling. White labeling and then manufacturing. I'd keep those two as separate, white labeling and manufacturing. So they're all kind of appealing. So when you're weighing them up, you're probably thinking the quickest and easiest thing and the thing with the least amount of hassle to get involved with is drop shipping, right? It's a way to really quickly and easily, without much logistics issues and that kind of stuff, get involved in e-commerce. You can go and find a supplier who's got a bunch of products and they will ship them directly to your clients whenever you get a sale. You don't have to, it's not cash intensive in the sense of you don't need to invest in stock. You only ever pay for a product once you've already sold it. So it makes it it's a great way for someone to get started in e-commerce if they don't have a massive budget, right? It's a good way to get started.
Just so we let people know, so you can interrupt, Charlie, just so we let people know, even if the drop shipping model would mean a minimum amount of investment, you still need to invest some money, because at some point, if you make 4, 5, or even 10 sales per day, you during a week, you'll end up, with 50, 70 products that you need to pay your suppliers for. So
right, but surely the money's come to you already. You've already sold those products.
Not necessarily. It depends on on each country. For example, in our country, in Romania, there are a lot of companies that allow people to order the product and only pay it in cash once they receive it. So I guess it depends.
Well, another thing is if you accept payments with PayPal, then you're certainly not going to be getting that money quickly.
Even with credit cards, you still don't get the money into the bank account only after a certain period of time. So it's that cash flow problem.
You need you need some money.
You
need some kind of cash flow, some money to be able to avoid cash flow issues. Yeah, that's for sure. Dropshipping is it's such an amazing thing, and it was kind of really popularized maybe 15 years ago now, quite a long time ago, really. Well, maybe 10 years ago. I think it probably only started appearing about 15 years ago. And everyone kind of started to find out about it 10 years ago, and now it's become incredibly saturated. And the problem with dropshipping is, if there's a company that does dropshipping out there, then they're probably already doing it for a lot of people, right? So you're going to be competing with people with the same products. So it does make it difficult. A really brilliant example that I always use for dropshipping, and Christian, I've talked about this guy so much now, but I always use him as an example, and that is, Andrew, God, I talk about him so much I can't even think of his surname. Andrew, who knows, from Ecommerce Fuel. And he started dropshipping years ago, and he had these kind of criteria for products. Go and check, if you go to ecommercefuel.com, you can go and check out. I'm sure there's a link somewhere to that, or an article that shows how he got started, and he's got some downloadable that shows how you can actually, what criteria you can use to choose a product and that kind of stuff. Really useful resource, actually. And he had this concept. I mean, just to go briefly, to paraphrase, he was saying that you should try and pick a product that's priced between something like $50 and $200. It should be a product that's slightly complicated to use in some way, so that you can provide customer service, so you can stand out with customer service. In the sense of, if you're competing with people with a product that's just a commodity or some kind of basic product, if you're selling, I don't know, I've got a nice glass mug in my hand here. If you're just selling that, then you can't add any value to that product, because people are just going to buy it and that's it. If it's a good product, people are going to buy it. They don't need your help. Whereas if it's a slightly complicated product, people will buy it and then they'll need your customer service. So you can provide them, maybe it's not customer service in the sense of being on the phone with them, but they'll need your installation guides and your, I don't know, whatever kind of leaflets and information you can give them. So he had this really cool criteria for setting up your dropshipping, or choosing a dropshipping product. And he ended up choosing CB radios. Right, a product he had no idea about, no interest in, but it just seemed to fit the criteria, and he found the right dropshipper to do it. Now, the problem with dropshipping is it's really a game of search engine optimization. People may disagree with me on that, but the problem is with dropshipping, your margins get absolutely crushed. So you're dealing with like 20% margins, sometimes even lower. Sometimes if you're lucky, it might be higher. We have worked with someone in the past who had, I think, 40% margins. But realistically,
That's
it's normally
high.
20%.
Yeah. If there are a lot of competitors that are doing basically the same thing you are doing, then they'll probably lower the prices just to stay on top of things.
Well, what happens is most dropshipping companies put a limit on. They put a maximum and a minimum limit, or at least a minimum limit
most of the time,
for the price that you can actually put on the product. Now, the reason for that is so that, number one, because if competitions start, if one person lowers the price, then the next person's going to lower the price, and it keeps going down and down and down, and it will essentially destroy the value of their product. So they don't want that to happen. And it destroys the businesses of the people they're dropshipping for, which ends up losing their money and all that kind of stuff. So they put these minimum prices on their products. And usually are pretty strict on making sure that's implemented and checking that you're not doing anything dodgy or lowering the price at all. So, and with that, because you've got these tight 20% margins, it then becomes very difficult to have any kind of budget for advertising, right? You can't spend any money. You can't spend, if you've got a product that's $100 and your profit margin's $20, you can't really afford to spend, I don't know, $15 on a sale or $10 on a sale. That, you'd be really lucky if you're getting that kind of conversion rate anyway. So it really becomes a game of SEO. And if you can win at the SEO game with a dropshipping company, then that's it. I mean, you're the fucking king. Like you can dominate that industry, because if someone's searching for CB radios and you're at the top of Google all the time, then it doesn't matter if it's 20% or 50%. You're getting all those sales. So it's got a lot of potential if you can really put the time in to do the SEO, but it may take you 18 months to get there. You might not ever get there, especially if it's a competitive space.
Indeed. You might need time and, money to invest.
Yeah.
Because you'll need, if you want to rank for those specific products you're selling, then you might want a good title, a good description, a big description, and you might want a blog where you can put articles and do internal link building. So that can get expensive.
The biggest thing it's going to be years getting the backlinks. That's the biggest issue.
Backlinks, you can buy those, backlinks. Or you could buy a part of those, but it can get expensive. If you're spending like $200 per link, imagine, buying 10, 100.
And you're never going to get the quality of backlinks that you will by doing it kind of organically.
No, never.
It's, yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, so, and then this, someone we worked with in the past, this guy did have 40% margins on this dropshipping model. Even so he was actually generating almost all of his sales from Facebook advertising. And the problem was he was selling massive volumes of stock. Crazy amounts of sales. I think, not crazy, but he was turning over, about 700,000, near enough $1 million a year. And the problem is the actual profit that was being generated from that was incredibly low. It was a very small amount of profit, because you are making such a tiny profit per sale. So it's this kind of, you may have a product that costs $20 and your profit may literally only be 50 cents or $1. Now, sure, it's still profit. So the idea is, well, let me just pump a load of money into the advertising platform. And as long as I'm making $1 per sale, I just got to make a shit ton extra sales. Well, yeah, it does work, but it becomes a very messy business, right? It becomes a very dirty business, one that's difficult to sell, and one that really doesn't have much of a it doesn't have a leg to stand on, in the sense of, as soon as those adverts are down, your business is gone. And you're really depending on Facebook for those sales, which is never a good thing. You never really want to depend too much on one platform. So dropshipping in that sense can take a really long time to get growth. It is fantastic for, the fact that, if you haven't got any money to get started, it can be really, really easy to get into. But it is, it's very slow to get the growth, and it can become very messy over the long run.
Indeed. Personally, I would use dropshipping just to validate the market or some products.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the cheapest way to do it.
Another thing that I've often thought about dropshipping for, and it's something I kind of think I might look into doing in the future, is using dropshipping products to add to an existing collection that you've got. What I mean to say by that is, if you are stocking inventory, your own products or wholesale products, someone else's products, you may have 5 main products that you're selling, but then you also could potentially get some cheaper dropshipping product that you can also put on your website, and it just adds a little bit of extra revenue to your existing product collection. So it just kind of supports what you're already doing, which I think is it's a good way to.
You're giving more options to the users, to the clients. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes that works against you. Too many options can distract people from the main goal.
Yeah, definitely. So there's dropshipping. Anything else you want to add to dropshipping for the moment?
No, I think that's about it.
On to wholesaling and warehousing then. Wholesaling and warehousing being, buying other people's products. So essentially the idea here is choosing some kind of niche or niche, if you're in the States, for your store, and then becoming a wholesale supplier, or a supplier in general of various brands within that niche. So you may have a car parts brand, and you may sell a bunch of different car parts from various different brands. You are not manufacturing any products. You are just buying them at wholesale and adding your margin and then selling them on to the consumer. My experience with this was with my paleo store, and I actually really enjoyed it as a business model. It was really easy to get set up. I essentially found I found a supplier who was kind of a wholesale supplier within Spain. This was, so they imported all of these paleo products from various countries, and then they were B2B. So they then sold at still fairly good wholesale rates to B2C companies like mine. So that really made it a lot easier because there was one company that supplied me with almost all of my paleo products, really simplifying the process.
Was there a minimum involved?
No, none at all. No, not at all. Right. I mean, there were some minimums, I'm sure, on the products, but it was, I mean, because you're buying in boxes to begin with. So if we're talking about a paleo snack bar, well, you can't buy less than 12 because there are 12 in a box, things like that.
Right.
I think we may have spent over €1,000 or something on the first order, but it's not really that much. Not that much if you're just getting started at least. So,
of course.
So that was really good. And then of course we'd add to that by importing ourselves as well, but it just made it really easy to have most of our products coming from one source, one contact, one person that we could send an email to, say, hey, we need more of this. We're running out of stock on this, or on 5 different products, and they would just send them straight over to us. And so it was really simple. We didn't have to go through any manufacturing process. We literally went from the birth of the idea, the first thought of the idea, to launch and sales probably within about 2 months. Which, I mean, you could do it quicker, but we had to set up a warehouse operation as well. So we had to find the space, had to get all the furniture for the office and set up all the shelving and all that kind of stuff, and get these orders in. Of course, this is all after doing business plans and all the rest of it, running all of our tests.
Was it expensive to set up?
Yeah. So I actually started off with, this was my own money. I put 13,000 euros into this.
All right.
I think the furniture, I had about a 1,000 euro budget for the warehouse operation setup. So
Shelves,
it wasn't that expensive. I mean, it wasn't a massive space. We're talking about a really small warehouse operation here. I don't know if you couldn't even really call it a warehouse. I mean, this was like a fucking office space. But it had enough space to put all of our shelves at the back with all of our stock in it and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't overly expensive for that. I mean, it was about 1,000 euros on the office setup. So this is when I'd moved to a real country area, in Spain. And so I managed to get an amazing deal on the office space. So it was only 200 euros a month, which is just crazy cheap. So that was good to have that as well. And the rest of it really was product and cash flow. So we certainly didn't spend the 13,000 straight away, but there's always police going around in Mexico. In the first 2 or 3 months, we were in negative. I mean, we were losing money. So that whatever was left after the initial setup of that kind of warehouse operation, that money was really good to have the cash flow to be able to keep putting in those orders as we got growth. And I think it was by about month 3, we were making profit. Not crazy quick, but not crazy slow either. And personally, I really love this. I really love this kind of business model. I found it's not a cheap business model to begin with, because number one, you are going to need a lot of inventory because you're stocking various brands. If you're only stocking one brand, then really it's not wholesaling, because you're just competing with that brand directly. So you're going to need to have various brands, which means stocking various products from various brands. So
and each product might have different variations, different options.
I mean, if you're talking about car parts, if you're talking about car parts or something like that, then that's a lot of stock you're going to need. So it can be expensive to get set up. Then you've got the expenses of warehousing and just running an on-site business where, rather than doing it remotely, or using a dropshipping model. And that in itself can be fairly expensive. So it's not necessarily it's not cheap to get started with. It is quicker to get started with than, white labeling or manufacturing, for example. But the biggest issue that I found with this stuff is that you're always dependent on what other brands are doing and providing and producing. So it always felt like such a shame for me when I was doing wholesaling to not have our own product, right? We'd built a massive name, certainly at least in Spain, in the paleo market. We'd built a massive name for ourselves. Yet we didn't have our own product. And it was like, we've got this big old email list. We've got these followers on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, but we're just selling other people's products. Yet we had our own brand, just not products that belong to us under that brand. And
the margins fairly decent?
Margins varied. I think our biggest margins really were around 40%. I mean, some of them were 35%. Yeah, big margin was 40%. So it was enough to do some kind of advertising and things like that. Oh, I just remembered one of the other big expenses when we got set up was the ebook that I created. I invested about $1,200 in an amazing ebook, because I just really wanted to attack that marketing channel and get a bunch of subscribers and people on social media and stuff like that. So that was a big investment up front as well. So yeah, that's, I love wholesaling because you're essentially becoming like a mini supermarket for your niche. And you can actually control the market in quite a big way when you're the biggest reseller of a certain brand in a certain country, then you really have a lot of power over that market. So it can become very easy to control things, to control the market.
Or very hard if you need to educate people, or it's a new product.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if it's a new product, then wholesaling is just a crazy idea. I wouldn't even get involved with it. If it's a new product, then you should be creating the product yourself. I don't know. What's your experience with wholesaling? Have you done wholesaling?
Well, wholesaling, not so much. White labeling and manufacturing, that's what I've done, and dropshipping. But I haven't done the wholesaling, to be honest.
So you've never stocked your own products or like had your own products?
Never. I've ran away from anything involving warehousing and all that stuff. I hated it. So
yeah,
I wanted to keep things simple. So if you're like me, move away from wholesaling.
So that's where I am now. I'm traveling around the world a lot at the moment, and I'm never in one place, or I'm never in the same place. So having my own warehouse operation isn't really feasible for me at the moment. But when I did it, I was kind of quite settled down in the countryside in Spain, on the beach actually. And it just really made sense. I had no plans to be moving anywhere soon. I had no plans to travel or anything like that. And having everything in one space, having your office that you can go and work at with the people that you're working with, having, your products in your hands and being able to control them and know exactly what's going on. There is just something about that. And I think everyone who runs that kind of operation will always agree that there is something special about having your own warehouse operation. And interestingly, even though I was doing that, we still had people that worked remotely in the company. I had someone who was working on the, blog, for example. I had a Spanish lady who had a degree in nutrition and biology, which is perfect for the paleo stuff. And she was living in Spain, but in a different area of Spain, and worked remotely, publishing on the blog. We had a graphic designer, and he worked remotely as well. So you can kind of combine the remote working and the warehouse operation as well. So there are different possibilities there.
The only problem is you can work remotely. You got to be there.
Yeah.
You got to be, you got to know
that
everything.
Is the problem. I mean, not necessarily, because you certainly do at first as you grow. And this was certainly something I always had in my plans. You can obviously, I mean, the only reason you really need to be in the office or in the warehouse is for, shipping, right? It's for packing and shipping, packaging the products and shipping them out when your courier company comes to pick them up in the afternoon or whatever. So,
right. You might hire somebody to do that, but, if you want to, have a smooth business, you got to be there, at least at the beginning. You got to make sure everything is done by the book, and, your employees, do whatever they need to do.
Definitely. And someone who's going to be able to actually run or manage. I wasn't sure which one. Someone who's actually going to be able to manage the packing and shipping and all that kind of stuff isn't going to be very cheap, because you need someone that's willing to take a managerial role within the company. So it's not going to be happening within the first couple of months, at least, certainly, unless you've got a lot of cash to begin with. But even so, I wouldn't suggest doing so, because you really need to get a grip and understand. You need to kind of feel the way and understand how it's going to work before you can then teach it to someone else. Wait, can you hear that?
Yes, I can.
This is people these are the people trying to come and collect all of your junk. They're trying to get, washing machines and, ovens and stuff like that. So that's one of the things that you'll hear regularly. Yeah. Yeah. It's very funny.
Indeed.
So, what was I going to say? One other thing on wholesaling and warehousing, and I can't think what it is now. Another great thing about running your own warehouse operation is the fact that you can control or negotiate your own shipping conditions. So for me, it was because I was selling other people's products, I had to stand out with the service, which is why we had this amazing free ebook, which was the best paleo guide you can imagine in the world. We had 24/7 customer service. And to top it off, we had really amazing shipping. So one thing, you've got to negotiate your shipping with your, what do you call them? Your courier or whatever. It's not, I suppose you shouldn't really call it shipping if it's not going on a ship. What's it called? Sending then. I don't know. Whatever it's called. I'm going to call it shipping, but you know what I mean. So it's really important to try and negotiate a late pickup time. Now, these companies, all they want to do is try and pick up as early as possible, because they've got to send everything out probably by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So they want to try and pick up. They've got to do a bunch of organizing of stuff in the office afterwards. Once all the, messengers or couriers pick everything up and get back to the office, they've got to organize everything. So they want to get started as early in the morning as possible. So they're going to try and say to you, okay, we'll come by and we'll pick up at 10 o'clock in the morning. And you're really going to have to negotiate that, because the further back you can push it, the quicker I'm going to call it shipping, the quicker your shipping is going to be. The reason being, if someone if they come and pick up your orders for the day at 10 in the morning, and then you get another order in at 11 in the morning, well, that order isn't going to be shipped until the next day. Whereas if you have it at 3 in the afternoon and someone puts in an order at 1 in the afternoon, it's still going to be shipped that same day. So it's really important to try and negotiate that and get it back as quickly as possible. Get it back, as late in the day as possible. We managed to negotiate ours back to, I think, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And that was a real struggle. We started at 11 in the morning, 10:30 in the morning, something like that. And we managed to push it back to 1 in the afternoon. But the amazing thing about that was we spent a lot of money on shipping. So that if someone pretty much anywhere in Spain, except for really remote locations, if someone placed an order at, say, 12:30 in the afternoon, they would have it in their house at 9 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 in the morning the next day.
Which is really fast, isn't it?
And people loved that. People went crazy for it. And yeah, it cost us money. but it got us so much business, and people would come back because they were so happy. And, you know, our products weren't cheap. This is kind of organic paleo products. It's, you know, you can pay like, I don't know, $2.50 for a snack bar. You know, it's really not cheap. But
was it worth the effort, spending that money in shipping just so you can get the products really fast?
It was, in the sense of every single review we got, and we did a really good job of making sure we got reviews on almost all of our orders, were 5-star reviews with people always, and it wasn't always people talking about the products. It was people talking about the amazingly fast shipping. It was people talking about the really funny email confirmation that we had, which I'm sure I've talked about in another podcast. You'll have to go and search around. The customer service, whatever it is, often the reviews were talking about the actual service rather than the product itself. And sometimes people didn't particularly like a product, but they'd still give us 5 stars because they'd say, well, these were a bit bitter, or this wasn't quite what I expected, but the service was amazing and it arrived super fast. 5 stars. So yeah, in that sense, yes, because we had so much social proof on the website, which gave us an amazing conversion rate. We had like a 2.5% conversion rate on our website. So yeah, I think it was worth it. Again, you've got it with this kind of stuff. You've got to make sure you're on top of your numbers. There's not just a one size fits all. You can't say, yeah, it's worth it, you need to do it. It depends on whether you're going to make enough profit from it. We also calculated what was the best point and where we could offer free shipping. And so we offered, I think it was free shipping over €70. So again, you know, that takes a big chunk out of your revenue, or out of your profit margin. But it allowed us to push up the average order value and get more sales because people were happy getting the free shipping. Free 1-day shipping, you know, is pretty unheard of. So in my case, yeah, definitely worth it. Definitely worth it.
All right.
So that's wholesaling and warehousing. And the final one, let's break these two down. So we've got white labeling and then manufacturing. So white labeling,
I just remembered
Christian.
that I did, sorry to interrupt, Charlie. I just remembered that I actually did wholesaling.
Okay.
While
Please
I was
share.
trying to do white labeling.
Okay.
Because we wanted to validate the market, and then we bought a bunch of products, obviously dodgy products, and we tried selling those products. And that's how we realized the big market we were looking at.
Yeah. So I'm picturing right now your living room with a load of boxes in it.
Well, I still have some boxes.
Right. So this is a home warehouse operation.
At first, that's how it went down. And, after that, we rented a space and we made things proper. Yeah. We made things properly. With shelves and everything, with accounting and all that stuff. So.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. What brand was this?
It's the Hyper Slim product. Buy it now, lose weight in 5 minutes.
Oh, so first of all, you kind of went to this manufacturer, you gave your recipe, they supplied you with the product, and you started stocking it yourself.
No, so at first, we bought some products that everybody could find anywhere at a pharmacy, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Pharmacy and some other places. I don't know the name of those places, but we knew that there's interest in weight loss pills and supplements and hair loss pills and breast enhancement products and all that dodgy shit. So
you loved it.
Oh, yeah, we loved it because, we realized people are crazy and people, would buy absolutely everything if you tell the story right.
Yeah, true. Good. So, that's an important point there. People will buy anything if you tell the story right. Now, I'm not encouraging you to go and sell weight loss pills.
No, I'm not. I'm not doing that either.
I'm not encouraging you to go and sell anything dodgy or anything that's going to negatively affect the lives of your consumer. In fact, you should only sell things that will positively affect the lives of your consumer. But it is a really, really important thing to remember that you can sell anything if you tell the story right. And perhaps we're going to have to do another podcast on that, Christian, on storytelling, the power of storytelling for products, whether it's in the copy on your website, whether it's in the product descriptions, whether it's in the ebook that you give out to people, whether it's in the emails that you send out to people, whatever it is, the power of storytelling. Remember that, guys. It's super important.
Indeed.
Go ahead.
So, again, I'm not encouraging anyone to do that. I don't regret it because it has been a tremendous experience for me. I've learned so many things. I've even, I've done, TV commercials. I've done, TV shows where we did product placements. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten to that point if I wouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, true.
And the products were not all that bad. The worst thing that could have happened to you was nothing. That was it. It could have
Christian.
worked.
We'll forgive you for selling dodgy weight loss pills.
All right. So,
so what were you doing then? So you got
that's
it.
How I started. So we bought different products and we tried, we tried selling them online. Again, weight loss pills, hair loss, all the popular products people were searching for.
How much money did you have to start this?
Not much.
If you don't mind me asking.
Not much. I think it's less than $1,000.
Really?
Well, yeah, cause, let me explain how it all went down. So we bought, I don't know, a box of weight loss pills, a box of hair loss pills, and another box of I don't remember the product we tried selling.
So to begin with, you didn't even put your logo on them. You just bought.
Mate, we just got a product from a place, put it on the website, and tried to sell it. That was it.
So that is complete wholesale and warehousing. Right.
There we go.
That's perfect. Yeah.
That's what I've done. So what we've done, because I wasn't alone, I was with two other guys. Anyway, so I don't know if you know how weight loss pills websites are. That one-page website where you try to squeeze as much information as possible, feedback, reviews, videos, all that fake shit that everybody was doing. So, the only thing we had to invest in was the product, a landing page, which we did ourselves because, at first we wanted just to validate the market, when we did a basic website, which looked like crap. And then we started doing AdWords. Facebook was not, back then Facebook was not doing any advertising. You wouldn't be able to, do anything. From what I remember, it took, I think 3 years till, Facebook, did that. So, the only option we had was, some bloggers that had, this, again, dodgy websites. Everyone had a dodgy website. Anything involving weight loss pills, hair loss, and all that stuff. It's dodgy.
Yeah.
Even the bloggers, everyone is dodgy. I'll tell you that. So guys, don't buy anything that says, you'll lose 20 kilograms in 1 month. That's a lie, and that's not healthy if it happens. So stay away from it.
And the fact is, go and fucking run.
Run.
Stop eating. Stop eating and fucking run if you want to lose weight.
I'll
Don't
tell
go
you
for
a few other funny stories later on, but all right. So let me explain how it all went down. So we created that landing page. We've created some basic AdWords campaigns that were really, really crappy. We didn't know what we were doing, but it was still fairly decent, for somebody that didn't know what he was doing. So we've launched those campaigns, and all of a sudden we started selling like 10 products per day, 20 products per day. And, we had a fairly, decent amount of, profit on the product, but it was still not enough. We realized we can make a lot of money. So that's where we started thinking of white labeling and manufacturing the product ourselves. And we started looking for a factory in Bucharest.
So this is perfect. This is the perfect. First of all, I have to say, Christian, I'm really, really fucking annoyed because your history of all this stuff is so much more exciting than mine is. But this is the perfect segue because this is exactly what I think, should be done with, this is what I think is the great opportunity with wholesale. You have the chance to sell someone else's products to generate a bunch of cash, and you can then use that cash to develop your own products and Absolutely. Let those products begin to take over and become your primary products. So go ahead.
And it's cheaper than doing anything else. Again, we invested like $1,000 in 3 people.
Yeah.
We were only 3 people. So we were amazed of what people could buy and would buy. So we started analyzing the US market, again, dodgy shit, full of it, full of, weight loss pills. We started analyzing our competitors, what they were doing, how they were doing it. And we started putting on a plan that, a business plan.
Yeah.
For the white labeling. And, we wanted to know how much we need to invest at that point to get our own product. And we realized that with 5,000 euros, I think 4,000 or 5,000 euros, we could have our own product, the website, and a fairly decent start advertising, budget to start with.
Yeah.
So we planned everything out. We contacted a bunch of factories, in Bucharest. And, 1 second, I think. All right. I'm back. So, we've contacted those, companies. We got the best price. We already knew what type of product, we wanted to sell. What was the product? Acai berry. I don't know. Everyone knows
isn't
about
it. Isn't it acai? Acai?
Acai. Acai. I guess it's called.
Fuck knows.
Buddy.
There's so many different weird names, weird superfood names nowadays.
Exactly. So we found our secret ingredient.
The secret ingredient.
You had to have a secret ingredient from the Amazon. It can only be found in Amazon, and the weight loss effects are tremendous. So we found our secret ingredient, which was acai berry or whatever it's called. Yeah. And, we found a factory that would create our product at a good price. Yeah. They forced us to, have a batch of 1,000 products at first.
Right.
And then, the more we bought, the cheaper the product got.
Yeah.
So it's the first batch was $1,000, 1,000 products, and it cost us, I think, $3.
So you did here exactly what should be done for someone who's in a bit of a tighter cash situation, which is, you can start off cheap. You can start off selling someone else's products for fairly cheap. You can start off even drop shipping using either one of these first 2 models that we've been discussing, the dropshipping model and the wholesaling model, and use that to generate enough cash to then be able to invest in manufacturing your own product.
Or validate the market, because you don't really know if that product would or would not sell.
Yeah. And I would say that really this should always be the main objective. whichever model you decide to go with, whether it's dropshipping or wholesaling, let's say those are your two options to begin with because you don't have enough cash to invest in manufacturing or white labeling to begin with. Or even white labeling as well. And we'll come on to that in a moment, but white labeling, dropshipping and wholesaling are great vehicles to give you enough cash to be able to invest in manufacturing your own product. And that ultimately should always be your goal. It's certainly always something I've wanted to do, and it's something that I haven't done. So this is where the manufacturing side of it's really interesting to me. But yeah, I personally think that ultimately should always be your goal, because owning your own product under your own brand with your own manufacturing, it gives you the most control. It gives you the biggest profit margins, and it gives you the most potential for growth. In my opinion. I don't know. What do you think on that, Christian?
No, I agree, because that's why we built our own product. We manufactured it, and then we sold it under our own brand, which we registered as a trademark in Europe. We knew that this would become a problem if we become too popular. People would try to piggyback on us, and we didn't want that to happen. So we've registered the brand, and we were a legit business.
Yeah.
So at first we started with the weight loss pills, manufacturing the product and putting our brand on it. But then we talked with the factory. They were building some other supplements for, a healthy colon, people that had digestive problems. They had all these types of powders, which were fairly okay. I mean, the ingredients were really good. Chia seeds, decent ingredients.
Yeah.
So we knew that they had that product, and we discussed with them, and they said they can white label the product, and we could sell the product under our own name. We just had to change the formula slightly.
Right.
Which we did, which we did, and then we added our own brand name.
So that's essentially white labeling, right?
Yep.
And where was this was it a Romanian company?
Romania, in Bucharest.
Right. Yeah.
And so we had one product that we manufactured and one that we white labeled, right? But we were selling these products as a combo. One for the weight loss and one for people with digestive problems.
Ah, you cheeky bastard.
Oh, mate. I mean, we were selling like 3 bottles at once, and then we were offering a 4th or the 5th weight loss product, and then we were trying to cross-sell or upsell the colon product.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, imagine selling, the average order was around $100, and we're talking Romania, buddy. I'm not talking the UK or the US market. We're talking Romania.
Yeah.
And we were at the beginning of, people, e-commerce and people, buying online. People were just realizing that you can safely buy things online.
Yeah.
Not the best products, but
yeah, super interesting. So the next, the kind of on that same subject then, white labeling to me is super interesting. It's something that we're trying to get involved with again now with setting up an Amazon company or a company that sells products through the Amazon marketplace. And, it's just something that's got such great potential. It's very easy to get involved with. You do need to have a bit of cash to begin with, because you're going to have some minimum order, what do they call them? Minimum order quantities, MOQs, minimum order quantities from the suppliers, from the manufacturers. It can be a little bit fiddly as well. And I think white labeling can be incredibly intimidating because you're often going to be dealing with Chinese suppliers. Let's put it that way. Chinese manufacturers or traders. Not always, but often it will be the case. I'm sure everyone has heard of Alibaba, and if, it's likely to be, China's likely to be your first stop or your first resource when looking for a supplier manufacturer. So that's, it can be a bit intimidating to try and do that, and you can be worried about the quality control of the products and stuff like that. I did actually, God, this is years ago now. So one of my first e-commerce stores, I built a clothing brand. Damn, I forgot about this. I built a clothing brand, and we started off with t-shirts, and we then we wanted to expand into different clothing items. And so to begin with, we were essentially just doing the designs and getting the t-shirts printed. So that was kind of white labeling, right? We got, t-shirts from, what they called, I can't believe I can't remember what they're called. The typical t-shirts, white label t-shirts. Damn it. I can't remember right now. But the typical ones that everyone buys. Yeah, blanks. Damn it. I can't remember what they're called. I'm going to look it up in a minute. But we got those, then just essentially cut the labels off, put our own labels on, which you can do. It's perfectly fine, and added our designs with serigraphy on the front. So that was how we began, essentially just kind of white labeling and customizing in a slight way, adding our own little print on the front. And then we moved into manufacturing. And so we wanted to design our own products, from scratch. So we were going to literally print and design our own fabrics, and then literally create our own clothing garments out of these fabrics. And for that, we went and found damn, I forgot all about this. I can't believe this.
I just remember one as well.
we went and found I don't even know what you call them, a haberdashery or something, I think they're called. We went and found a lady that makes clothes, I suppose, in Barcelona. Damn it, here come the police again. We went and found this lady in Barcelona who had her
own tailor.
Oh yeah, exactly. We had the whole thing set up, and we went and printed. I created designs, or patterns for fabrics, and we then, got our own fabrics printed out, and then started making our own products from absolute scratch with the shapes that we decided, with the styles that we decided, with the buttons that we'd chosen. Everything. And at the same time, we also decided that we wanted to start selling caps, like baseball caps, but like flat peak caps. And so the easiest option, rather than doing it from scratch, seemed to be to go to China and find a manufacturer that was already creating these caps and just create them with our own logo on them, create them with our own designs on them, that kind of stuff. So kind of white labeling, not really manufacturing. Because these things are already manufactured, they just customize them.
Were you targeting the US market or the Spanish market?
This was all Spain.
All right.
Yeah, completely Spain. It was terrifying for me at first. This was my first company at all, so I really didn't know what I was doing. And I was talking back and forth with this lady in China, and she sent over a sample with our designs on it and our prints and our logos, and it was beautiful. We had this kind of fake suede cap on the front, and then the rest of the hat had our design on it, this design that I'd actually created, and the samples were really, really cool. They were really good quality. And so we went, great, right, we had to put in the minimum order of 500 caps, which probably wasn't massively expensive. I guess it was probably something like $1,500 or something like that.
Right.
But we went and put in the order, and I didn't do the quality control check. I didn't do any of the stuff you should do. I just went and put in the order, and they sent them. And of course, the quality was 10% of the quality of the samples that they'd sent over. And so I received a massive box of 500 caps that I could not sell. And I had to throw those caps away. Yeah, I forgot about
And
that.
what
That
happened?
was painful.
Did that kill the business?
Do you know what? It pretty much did. We were having a load of problems at the same time, a load of accounting issues, and we were investing so much money in manufacturing, without really knowing what we were doing, that it was probably only about 4 months later that we shut down the business. Yeah, I gave a lot of caps to friends for Christmas that year, I think. And I threw the rest
Cap
away.
that nobody could wear.
I mean, they were okay. The problem was basically all it was like the material on the top. It was supposed to have like the front of the cap is supposed to have some kind of strength to it, so that it maintains its form. And the ones that were sent in the sample were like that. They were perfect. They were great caps like you'd buy from any brand. And then the ones that arrived, the material on the top was just like floppy. So it would basically just wrap around your head, and it just gave it this really weird look. It just wasn't a good look. And it was a shame because we had like a leather buckle to adjust the size of it, and we had suede on the front of it, and they were beautiful caps. But they just sent us these fucking floppy things that no one wanted. That was painful. But my point being, the moral of that story is it can be very intimidating, and yes, you shouldn't just jump into it without researching first and knowing exactly what you should do with white labeling or ordering from China or ordering from any manufacturer for that matter. You certainly shouldn't just jump into it, but there is a great lot of potential. White labeling's great. I mean, it's a way for you to start building a brand and build products under your own brand. I remember with white labeling, you can still adjust products and tweak products to customize them in your own way. That's not necessarily manufacturing. You can just speak with a manufacturer and say, yeah, this candle is great, but I want it to be blue, and I want it to have my logo on the front, and I want it to be an inch wider or something like that. So you can still customize and have a unique product, even though you're using a white labeling as a business model.
Absolutely.
So then the next thing, of course, with white labeling is that it gives you the opportunity to get into this massive world of Amazon. Now, Amazon is a big, intimidating and scary beast because it's never a great thing to depend on Amazon 100% for your business, your income. However, there is massive opportunity with Amazon, and white labeling is the easiest and quickest way and most secure way to get into that business. We are actually going to be launching an Amazon brand over the coming months, and Christian and I were talking just a couple of days ago about, I think it was yesterday, about running some kind of case study on this. So, not necessarily a course. We won't be teaching, how we're doing this stuff because it's going to be the first time that we're going to be doing it. But hopefully it'll be a really insightful, raw experience for people to see this process that we're going through, literally starting from zero and seeing where it takes us. So we're not sure exactly what we're going to do at the moment, but we're going to be doing something on YouTube, I should think, and some kind of case study. You might be doing a video a week or something like that. So keep your eyes open for that. It'll probably be sometime in May, let's say, that'll be coming out. So keep your eyes open for that. Yep. So that's white labeling and manufacturing. We kind of mix those two together. White labeling and manufacturing to me are that's where I'd want to be.
That's where manufacturing, you get serious. That's when you become a monster in your industry, or you can become.
In my mind, at least, yes. Now, I don't want to undermine drop shippers, and I don't want to undermine people who do wholesaling. I mean,
of course not.
Think of supermarkets, right? Although a lot of supermarkets now provide their own products as well. Most original kind of traditional supermarkets are wholesalers, and they're some of the biggest companies in the world. So there's nothing wrong with wholesaling, and you can grow a massive business with wholesaling. To me, I just think the way that we're going in the modern world, with such competition in wholesale, with such competition in drop shipping, and the excess of consumer products, the best direction you can go in, the most secure long term, the best long, I can't say this. My head isn't working. The most secure option for the long term, for long-term success and long-term growth is always going to be creating your product. Now you can do that through white labeling by just kind of adjusting a new product, and that's going to be fairly good. But ultimately the gold at the end of the rainbow is going to be manufacturing. It's going to be owning your own brand, your own products. Because that can just grow indefinitely, and it's something that you have complete control of. And you're not competing with very similar products or the same products from the same brand. You have the opportunity to build a brand more than just a product, as well as just a product. So personally,
most
that's
of the time the brand
in.
sells itself. It's not necessarily the product, but the brand.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the times.
I always use this example of what these guys called Minal, spelled M-I-N-A-A-L. And these are some guys from New Zealand, I believe. Don't kill me if they're from Australia. I'm sorry. The accents are too similar for me. I'm just bridging on racism here, but they are a couple of guys who created they basically just designed a backpack, a rucksack, nothing crazy fancy, just a really cool backpack. And they just managed to build this massively cool traveler's story behind it about their past and how they've been traveling and how they wanted to build the most amazing bag in the world. And they showed this story of how they did it and all these awesome materials they're using and the thought behind each different compartment and all this kind of stuff. And it just worked. The story sold the bag. And these bags are fucking expensive. They're like, I've got one right next to me here. They're like, I think they're like $300 a bag or something. You can check it out on their website. But the story just sold it. The story sold it and people fucking buy these things. So it works. So I think that's about that. Anything else you want to add, Christian?
No, I think, white labeling and manufacturing might be a bit riskier. It might get expensive, but long term, the benefits
you need to have, so creating your own product, you have no guarantee that the product's going to sell. You really have to depend heavily on your ability to market that product. The same goes with white labeling, less so, because you're using products. If there's a factory in China that's creating these products, then they're creating them because they sell well. So you have a lot more assurance that the product sells well. Again, the same with dropshipping, because you're selling someone else's products already. They're already being sold by probably hundreds of other dropshippers, so you know that it sells well. And again, the same thing goes with wholesale. You're selling other brands, so you can choose brands that you already know sell well. So manufacturing your own product, yes, there's a lot more risk involved, and you will need to depend on your skills to market that product a lot more than you would need to with other e-commerce models. However, in my opinion, the rewards, both financial and kind of emotional, are much greater from manufacturing your own product.
Absolutely.
So I think that about wraps it up. There's a bunch of different options there. Hopefully we've gone through some of the different prices you'll need to, or the different amounts of money you'll need to get started. In fact, let's go over that quickly again. Dropshipping is the least amount of money you need. You can start dropshipping. You could probably set up a dropshipping business with like $300. You could build a website and get started for probably less than $300. There's a really great way to get started. And again, remember, you can use dropshipping to validate a market. You can use dropshipping, wholesaling and white labeling actually to validate a market before you manufacture your own product. So those are great ways to get into a market and really understand whether there's potential for you to build a new product that's actually going to sell well within that industry. Wholesaling and warehousing, you're going to need a fair bit of cash to get started because you're going to have to buy inventory from other brands. Now, we've actually told two different stories there. Christian's story where it was actually fairly cheap just to buy a few random weight loss pills and hair loss pills and things like that, or hair growth pills. However, in most cases, you're going to need to, I'm trying to think of another example of wholesaling. Let's say you've got a business that sells, camping supplies, right? Camping stuff, or even let's say kitchen stuff for kitchens, that stuff. You're going to have to buy a bunch of different products from different brands, just so that you've got a kind of complete store, because if you don't have a complete store, then it's just going to be a bit bare and you won't seem like a legitimate brand. So you're going to need to have a selection, a variety of products to begin with, meaning that you're going to have a fair bit of money to get started. And I would say that you should expect to need between 5,000 and 10,000 to get started. Remember, I was saying about setting up an office and a warehouse operation from the very beginning. You don't need to do that. You can always sell shit from your living room to begin with, right? And I would actually recommend you do that. That you don't want to invest in something unless you validated it. So make sure you get those products sent to your living room to begin with, sell them from your home, and then once you know that things are working well, you can then go and set up your own warehouse operation.
So wholesaling and warehousing can cost you $1,000 or it can cost you $5,000. It depends on how you approach this type of business.
Yeah, exactly. The reason I would say that it is more likely to be $5,000 is because yes, you can get started. You can order your first amount of stock and set up your website and set up your business for probably $1,000, but you're going to need cash after that. And you're going to sell a bunch of products. This is something to bear in mind, guys, with cash flow. The biggest issue with cash flow, sometimes it's the fact that you haven't received the money before you need to make a new order. But the biggest killer with cash flow issues, or the biggest killer for me, was always the fact that you're growing. So in 1 month you may have made 4,000 in sales. You've seen that the next month you've made 7,000 in sales. So you know that the month after you've got the potential to make, say, 10 or 11,000 in sales. But that means you're going to have much more. You're going to have a bigger stock. You're going to have to have more stock. So that means that in a month where you're only selling $7,000 worth of products, you've also got to buy $12,000 worth of products, right? So you're always needing to buy more than you're selling because of growth. Growth can literally kill you in a wholesaling business. So that's why I would always say that you should probably be looking more towards the 5,000 mark, just so that you don't kill your business in those first few months. Because you might start and go, hey, this is great. This is month 1 and we've already made a shitload of money. And then you go, oh crap, we haven't got enough money to keep up with our growth.
It might get even way more expensive than $5,000. So it depends on the market. What are you selling? If you're selling baby cribs, a crib might cost $500. So
true.
You can't start with 10 cribs, can you?
True, exactly. So wholesaling, warehousing, I'd say really you should be trying to have at least 5,000 to get started with that. And then white labeling, I would say is probably, you could probably do it for cheaper than wholesaling.
You need minimums. You'll have minimums.
You'll have minimums, yeah. But I mean, yeah.
It depends on the product. For example, when I sold sex toys from the US, if you remember on our last podcast about dropshipping and wholesaling, I talked about me buying sex toys from China and shipping them over to a fulfillment house in the US.
Indeed.
But so that was not white labeling, actually. That was actually wholesaling. We were buying some products from China and just selling them with no trademark, no anything. We just put a name on it, and name the product as we pleased, but that was it. Wholesaling, most of the times you'll have 1,000 units minimum, or 500.
Yeah, 500, yeah.
And if the product costs, I don't know, $5, what are you selling?
But the thing with white labeling is, though, your setup costs are a lot cheaper, in the sense of it's much easier to sell white label products through marketplaces such as Amazon and Etsy and eBay and wherever else you want to sell them. So yes, you may have to spend $2,000 on your first order. It may be more complicated to place an order from China or somewhere like that. It may take more time. You may have to wait 3 months before you receive the order, but you then don't have that expense of having to set up a brand and having to market that brand. You don't have to be setting up AdWords campaigns and things like that. You can place these straight on Amazon. Sure, you might have to set up ad campaigns within Amazon, but it's very quick and cheap to get into Amazon. So, and then you will always have that kind of cash flow problem beyond that as well. You're going to need that 5,000. You're going to need an extra 3,000 minimum after you've placed a 2,000 order, just to have some kind of cash to be able to place a new order as you can see you're running out of stock, especially if you know that it's going to take 6 weeks before your order's going to arrive. So you want to,
sorry to interrupt, and you also want to trademark your product. Because, on Amazon, there's always the risk of people piggybanking on your product.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
That's another big expense. It's not cheap to do proper trademarking.
Yes. Very true. Very true. So that's, I would say realistically, wholesaling and warehousing and white labeling are fairly similar. In terms of the money you'll need to get set up, you're going to need some money to make your first orders, and then you're going to need enough money to have you're going to need enough cash to avoid those cash flow issues in the following months. And then finally, manufacturing. I mean, manufacturing in my mind is always going to be the most expensive. Manufacturing is kind of the most elusive. It's going to be the most expensive. It's going to take the longest amount of time, but it's always going to be the most rewarding. If you get success with it. So I think a really good summary of all of this is that dropshipping, wholesaling, and white labeling are 3 amazing ways to get started in e-commerce. And they're great ways to validate a market. They're great ways to generate cash so that you can then invest in manufacturing. But ultimately, manufacturing should be your end goal. Now,
which can get really expensive.
It can get really expensive.
Cost you like what, $300,000 just to get your prototype.
Yeah. Now, the final thing on manufacturing is, okay, we're saying go with dropshipping, wholesaling, or white labeling so that that can lead you on to manufacturing. You can, undoubtedly use a platform like Kickstarter to go straight into manufacturing, right? And you can spend maybe quite a small amount of money. You could maybe spend a couple of $1,000s on a prototype or something. On a prototype so that you can make a cool video and a cool campaign to put on Kickstarter or Indiegogo or wherever else you want to put it on these crowd funding websites, platforms. And that in itself will kind of validate the market, because you'll see how many people invest in your product on this platform, on Kickstarter. And if it's a success, then it's fairly safe to assume that you're in a good market and there's potential for the product that you've created. And what's more, you've sold the product before you've even actually invested in creating it or ordering the stock. So you do have that potential. And I'd really recommend going down that route if you are someone that has got a product idea that you just have been thinking about for the past 5 years and you've been desperate to make it and you think it's going to absolutely nail it. You think it's going to be great. Then go for it. Go for Kickstarter. and raise the money so that you can have enough cash to really launch and get started. Otherwise, if you're just trying to get started in e-commerce, you don't have a particular product idea, you just want to get involved in a niche and you're thinking, I want to get involved in selling tablecloths. Can you tell that I'm looking at my table right now? I want to get involved in selling tablecloths, then start with one of the other options, right? Don't go and try and manufacture your own tablecloths to begin with. Go and dropship, go and wholesale, go and white label, and then let that take you on to manufacturing in the future.
Absolutely.
I think that about does it. So we will leave it there. Let's call it a wrap. Thank you very much, as always, for sticking around and listening to us. We hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. Please go and leave us a review on iTunes. I'm actually now putting links in the there's a link in the show notes for iTunes, Stitcher, whatever kind of or even YouTube, whatever podcasting platform you use to listen to us. Please go and click on the link and leave us a review. You have no idea how much it means to us, the difference it makes. It really helps us to get feedback. And I'm not going to lie, it really helps us to get new listeners. It helps us to get ranked on iTunes and stuff like that so we can get new listeners. We do all of this for free. We give this content out for free, and it costs us a lot to make these podcasts. So getting new listeners is a great way to help us out and kind of pay us back for this free content. So we'd really appreciate that. And otherwise, we will catch you next week for some more fun and exciting e-commerce information. So that's everything. Thank you, guys. I've been Charlie Center.
And this is Cristiano Bra.
And we'll catch you next week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.